God is our source. What a relief. Phew. That's pretty much it. Not much else to say. So abundance is enlightenment. Enlightenment is abundance. So we're talking about the third chakra and that it opens us up to the cosmos. And so I invite you to just think of, contemplate, if you may already have, if you read the weekly email, if you were going to describe heaven, either stories you've heard written somewhere in scriptures, or if you've read people having near-death experiences, any non-ordinary state mystical experiences you've had. There's two amazing things about it. One is that almost every experience that I've read or had is different. So when I'm in class and I ask people for their experiences, everyone's experience is different. And then according to people's religious faith, that experience. So we have collective experiences that are different and then individual experiences. But there is something that's similar to all of them, at least as far as I've talked with people and read and experienced. When we are in that heaven state of consciousness, in that realm, that cosmic consciousness, a lack does not exist. Like everything can be tailored to our belief system, but lack just isn't there. People are not on the other side of the veil worrying about, oh my gosh, am I going to lose my home? Or can I have food? Or they're just all worried. That's why peace is such a big part of it, because suddenly all those things that we tend to worry about or think about constantly on this earth plane do not exist in that heaven state of consciousness. There is in fact, it's so abundant, there's no opposite, so you don't even think about it. It just is. Everything just is. All the fullness, everything that has ever been and ever will be is given to you, and not just given to you in general, but to you specifically. So when we read these stories, everyone's having their own experience on that other side of the veil. It's usually incredibly expansive, beyond what this earth is, but it's exactly tailored to each person in an incredibly loving way. So heaven is a place where there is no opposite. So we don't talk about abundance as opposed to lack. There is no lack. There's not love opposed to not love. Can you imagine a heaven where there's no love, where there's not infinite beauty, infinite peace, infinite grace, infinite joy, bliss? So it's already a very different state of consciousness where you're not spending a lot of time worrying about other, because there is no other. Enlightenment, that's why when people are in that enlightened state, they're in the state of bliss, because talk to anyone who's had any little bit of enlightened experience, or if you've been around a master teacher who sort of can sustain those enlightened states, they don't walk around in fear. They don't walk around playing small, because they know that they are part of this infinite nature, and they feel it, and it's flowing through them. Their entire being is this enlightened state of being. Enlightenment is abundance. Enlightenment is infinite, where there is no opposite. That's pure unlimited joy. Paramahansa Yogananda uses the analogy, just imagine if you were in one room for most of your life, and then you come out of that room and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a whole world out there. That's what he likens living in this earth plane, and then suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, this is just a small little thing of this vastness. Reverend Michael loves to talk about people's ceilings. He says, I can see people's ceilings, like they go so far and then they can't move past it. And so one of his great joys as a minister is to help people move past their ceilings, to move past this limitation that they're walking around, that we can walk around with, because we believe we're limited beings. But the more we wake up, we realize we are not limited beings. We are infinite beings, and we have so much greatness available to us. We just have to see it and feel it. And so that's the power of why we open our third eye. We open up ourselves through meditation, through prayer, to waken up to these higher realms. And then there's abundance. And we're going to talk about abundance in terms of supply. So our root chakra, which is Yogananda is the teacher that I primarily use for chakras, and he talks about the third eye. The next chakra is the Crown Chakra, which is cosmic consciousness, spiritual liberation. And he talks about that opening up naturally if you open up your third eye. And I'm not a master, but I will say, having spent years meditating on my third eye, I find my crown chakra is buzzing all the time. I've never put any attention on it. So I don't know if what he says is true. I just have experienced constant buzzing. So I'm talking about, so the top chakras, third eye, cosmic consciousness, and then the root chakra, which is supply, down here at Earth, that's in our root chakra. That's our first chakra. So it's at the base of our spine, near our anus. And I love this story. I love this connection that someone made. I've never forgotten it, which is, so supply, when we started going into COVID crisis, there was a rush for toilet paper, and people were wondering, why was there a rush for toilet paper? Well, our survival is that root chakra. I think that's amazing. We didn't even know we were doing it. And it's interesting now because we hear a lot of, or at least I have heard a lot of concern about the lack of supply as we're going into the winter, that the demand is far exceeding supply. I was at Safeway, and the fruit and vegetable guy said, oh, just grab what you can because we're not getting supply in anymore. And we got a memo from Safeway administrators saying that in the next months it's just going to get worse and we should prepare ourselves. So he was telling me, prepare yourself. So we got the fear coming in, hard and strong. And the way my father would look at that, that's just being practical. You learn the information and you do what you need to do, but you don't have to do it all in fear. And so I want to talk about that, the idea of supply practiced in life, but without a spiritual connection. Because that's what I grew up with. I grew up in a wealthy home, in a wealthy neighborhood, wealthy community. It was never connected to God or spirit. They practiced it. My mom, we went to a sort of a liberal Protestant church, centrist liberal Protestant church. Liberal enough where my mom was an agnostic, my dad was an atheist and had no problem with the ethics of the community. And my mom was always in charge of raising money. And I just happened to find, it was amazing, she wrote out her little speech when she was asking the church for money. And it was so good. I'm like, yeah, I give money. She knew how to do it, and that was her gift. And then she went and got her master's in nonprofits and became a director of development fundraiser for so many different nonprofits, then became a grant writer. She always got money, loved asking for money, loved money. Especially when she was raising it for something. She's a cause-oriented person. When she had a cause, she was wonderful at raising money. My parents, every year, at the end of the year, had their time where they would, I remember this, even as a kid, they would sit down at their desks and talk about what are the charities. And that would be like a whole process of picking the charities that they're going to give to, including our church, all the money that they would give at the end of the year, because there was this idea of giving. I received, as a child, ever since I got an allowance, I also got envelopes from the church, weekly envelopes, to donate a little bit of my allowance to the church. And I was so excited when I was old enough to get an envelope. I was in 3rd grade. Put my little nickel in there, mailed it to the church, or brought it to church on Sunday, because I always went to Sunday school. So we had this abundance, and we gave. But what's interesting is, I was asking my mother, and I said, well, did you talk about tithing when you asked for money? And she said, what's tithing? We didn't have the idea of tithing, and that's important. And I'm going to get back to that. So what I experienced growing up was incredible wealth. Our church was huge. Lived in a, like I said, neighborhood. I experienced wealth, but it was wealth separate from the spiritual awakening. So it was, I didn't feel limited ever, but there was something missing in the wealth. And I think it was why I didn't have a huge interest in it, because there was a wall, there was a division. There was a lack of connection. There was a separation. And so even as we have that separation in an idea, in a form, it's going to continue to proliferate out in the world, this idea of separation. That if you can do the right things, you'll get the money, because it's human-based, it's human effort in it, it's human-willed, and then those who don't have that struggle a lot more. But if we look at our chakras, the third eye, enlightenment, infinite abundance, no separation, everything is one. And then the root chakra, there's a lot of space in between that, right? So it's heaven and earth. Heaven, where everything is whole and there's infinite supply everywhere, and then earth, where there's separation, where there's supply and you can practice the principles, but there's also this divide. So what I love about what New Thought brought was like, let's bring these two things together. Because in the old idea, a lot of mythic religions really separate spirituality and money. If you're going to give your life to God, it was like charity, poverty. There's another one. Charity, poverty, chastity. That's why I forgot it. Who would want to forget that one? But you had to give up all these earthly things in order to know God. And New Thought came along and said, no, God is in all these earthly things, and let's start healing that divide. So it's like taking the enlightened chakra, just feeling that wholeness and that oneness and letting it descend into our throat. So we have the power of expression, not just from an individual island, but as part of the oneness of all life, as part of the cosmos, a part of this infinite nature. We could speak our words, speak our authentic truth out into the world. What an incredible thing. Now it's not just about my individual self or my group, but around the entire cosmos, speaking my word. I allow the entire enlightened consciousness to open up my heart and feel love not just for myself, but for all life itself. Then suddenly my heart is about the heart of the infinite, the enlightened heart. And then we go into the decision making, that I have a power to make decisions from a place of enlightenment and seeing from this cosmic consciousness. So again, we're bringing... It was very intentional. They didn't talk about it in terms of chakra, but it was very intentional to bring an enlightened state into form. And then our imagination they talk a lot about an imagination in New Thought, allowing this infinite enlightenment to activate our imaginative self. And of course, bringing the enlightenment self into our supply, into the wealth, into the joy, into the abundance of our life. And then we come back up. Abundance is part of our supply. Abundance is everything, and enlightenment. Abundance and enlightenment is our imagination. So our imagination is abundant. Our decisions making is overflowing, that our ability to be clear is overflowing. We don't have to stress. Our love, our relationships, our express is abundance. Our throat chakra, it's abundant, and then we come back up. So we're going into this wonderful circulation, and this is how we are bringing together a thing that has been so separate in our history, in our evolutionary history. It's like, no, let's get it all flowing, this river of flowing of the infinite abundance into the form, so that even the form is healing separation. So we always have this opportunity to heal separation at every chakra, at any one of these ideas at each of those chakras, that we can heal the separation and know behind it is this abundance of enlightenment, and abundance. Woohoo! Isn't that wonderful? It feels so good to feel that enlightened energy that is available to us, and to breathe in and breathe out. So we have a lot of, if you're going to look at our energy body, anything with breath is about breathing in and breathing out. Any type of if you hear like Kundalini yoga or Kriya yoga, that's breathing the energy up and breathing the energy down. You're actually consciously doing this. You're starting in the root chakra and you're bringing your energy up. Tantric Buddhism, you're bringing the energy up and you're bringing it down, you're bringing it up, it's consciously circulating the energy in your bodies. Yoga, Qigong, Reiki, all of this is about moving energy, connecting with the energy in your body, this flow. And so we start opening and recognizing that at every level and dimension of our being is abundance and enlightenment. We feel that. And then we have practices in our physical life, because our physical life is very dense. So we can feel the energy and the lightness of being, but then when we get into the physical, even as we talk about, oh my gosh, there's not enough this winter because we can start feeling constricted and limited. So it's our job to wake up each of these areas in form. So prayer is one of the most, I hear a squeaky board, I'm sorry. Prayer is one of the most beautiful things that we can use, because prayer is using our words, using this consciousness of the infinite and calling it forth. So we have the power over and over. We hear now lots of fear about supply and it's going to go away. So what do? We can just scramble and hoard, which is, go get that toilet paper fast. No, I'm not kidding. You can do practical things always. But with the practical things, pray into the infinite abundance, the infinite good for ourselves and for everybody. Ourselves and everybody, because as Cher was reading that beautiful reading today, that New Thought reading is an exact beautiful representation of what New Thought teaches, of the infinite nature of abundance at every level and dimension of our life. And so, but we have to activate it. It's already there. It already exists. We're not getting it from out there. It's not out there. We're activating it through our conscious awareness, through this awakening, and prayer is the thing that does that. So if any place where we're feeling fear or constriction, we speak the absolute truth into the fear. We don't pretend the fear isn't there. You can't heal what you don't feel. I'm sure you've all heard that. You feel it. You don't deny it. You don't spiritual bypass it. But then we speak the truth into it. Because otherwise, we're just trapped and stuck, or you're just trying to figure it out with your mind or your human capacity, and the human capacity is always limited. Even that church where I was raised, it's now struggling because it was so big, and churches are losing their membership and their interest for people, especially Protestant churches. So they're really struggling to keep going. So their abundance was for a stage, but it wasn't eternal. God's abundance is eternal. Again, what we heard in the reading today. It's eternal. Even if it goes away, we just continue to go to that infinite nature, because the infinite nature never knows lack. Keep reminding yourself of that heaven state of consciousness. Never, ever does it know lack. It is always abundant. And our mind, that ceiling that Reverend Michael talks about, is that ceiling where it says, oh, there's no more. There's no more good. There's no more possibility for relationship. There's no more possibility for a creative expression. I've hit my limit. We want to break all of that open over and over, and prayer is a wonderful, powerful way to do that. Another really powerful way is through tithing. So, my parents did not give money because it was a spiritual thing. But they knew about the power of giving by just being in this culture. And I got that when I was on an airplane, and I was sitting next to a Christian minister from Korea, I'm guessing South Korea, and he had just come over to the States for a Christian conference, and he was telling me, he just opened my eyes in a way that I'm sorry to say I'm a little bit U.S.-centric, because this has been my experience. I have not lived in other countries. And so what he was saying was, he said, you have no idea how generous Americans are. In Korea, there's no sense of this idea of giving. They don't have tithing. They don't have a sense that as you give, so shall you receive, that you have this flow, this circulation. This is a circulation up and down. It's how the whole universe works. It's how your body works, your blood system works, your breath works. It's how our seasons work. We live in a cosmos of circulation. And when we talk about tithing, that's just a conscious participation in circulation. He said there's nothing like that in Korea, so we don't have nonprofits because nobody gives money. It's so counterintuitive. Why would you give money? You want to hold on to the money. He said, so as a church, it's very hard to survive, and we actually depend on the home churches because we don't get a lot of money, because this idea of giving doesn't exist in Korea the way it exists here. I thought of something I heard from a Texas radio, this was a few years ago, a Texas DJ was just doing a test. So he just put out on the air, he said, I'm really needing some money right now, and so if anyone has a few extra bucks, it'd be really great if you could just, send it to me. I welcome it. And he just got deluged with money. Just money came in from everywhere. He actually mailed it all back. He said, I just wanted to see if I didn't even give a reason. I didn't even give you a reason why I needed money. I didn't tell you I was, there was some horrible thing. I just said I needed money, and all of you gave money. We are a very generous people. There's this collective consciousness that we understand the power of giving. And tithing is accessing that. Tithing is hearing, feeling, and recognizing that we're tithing, we are giving because we recognize that we are participating in something so much greater than our human self. This is not a human idea, this idea of circulation. We are participating in it. We were born into it. Our bodies are living in it. Our communities are living it. And so when we are participating in it, we are participating in Spirit's natural abundance. We didn't create that abundance. We didn't create the system. This is participating consciously in the infinite abundance of the universe. And it is joy-filled. So when I first came to New Thought churches, I never heard the word tithing. So I know some people have history. I didn't have any history. I was pretty neutral because I hadn't heard of it. And I started listening, and I heard, well, you have to tithe 10%. And I just remember being in a class, and do you tithe the net, or do you tithe 10% of the gross, and why do you choose 10%? And so all these questions were coming up, and I was just listening to it all, and people were giving testimonies of when they started tithing, how great it was, and how it was great when they switched from 10% of net to 10% of gross, and 10% comes from the Bible. And I kept thinking, well, the Bible says a lot of things. Some of them are good or some of them bad, but it has like 1 or 2 sentences about 10%, and suddenly everybody's 10%. Like, that one is true. We know that law is true. So I'm just a natural skeptic, so it wasn't even about, and so I was testing it, and I just, like my parents, I just saw the beauty of the giving, and so I was wondering about the 10%, and I'm playing with that. Well, but what happened is, and so this is my invitation to you, because I also really reckon, the other thing that I was hearing about tithing, and it seemed, I didn't get it till I practiced it. It's about having a deeper connection with that spiritual energy. Abundance is naturally who and what Spirit is. Spirit, enlightenment is abundance. And so by being in communication with Spirit, because I just was so curious. I kept asking, like, well, do I have, is this 10%? Do I get in trouble if it's like 5%? Or do I get extra goodies when it's 15%? And just by being in the question and being in this wonderful presence with the infinite, with this third eye of cosmic consciousness, not with authority, not with the church authorities, not with whoever telling me I should or shouldn't do this. Because I know if you're here, you're an independent thinker, right? You don't do things just because people tell you to do them. And so I know you're like me. So and what happened was this incredible, it became an expression of so much love between the divine and I just suddenly was feeling like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even exist if Spirit wasn't breathing into me. All Spirit has to do is withdraw its energy, withdraw its breath, and this world is gone. Instantly, in a second. The thing that is keeping all of us alive is this infinite nature of Spirit, this incredible cosmic circulation moving through and as time and space, the time and space continuum. And it is Spirit that is behind all of it. God is our source, this one power in this one. It is our source for everything. And I started to feel that gratitude. And so the tithing became this incredibly intimate connection with the incredible cosmic circulation. So it wasn't just like a little thing, became part of this incredibly big thing that was beyond me, and it's become such an incredible, joyful practice that I do every single month, not because I have to, not because it's a rule, but because it's this living energy of love, of connection, of depth, of intimacy through supply, because every chakra matters, including that root chakra, Abraham Maslow, first level. Food and shelter. If you don't have food and shelter, it's hard to go on without that root foundation. And so we want to heal if there's any place in you that has separation between supply, money. If you feel like money is a dirty word, money is a neutral word. We put on it what we want to put on it Because behind that money is this energy of light and of love and enlightenment, enlightenment, enlightenment. Money is enlightenment. It's not anything in the physical realm is not the source of that enlightenment. It's an expression of that enlightenment. And to put that, that's why we keep the circulation going, because we don't own anything, right? Nothing's permanent. So we just allow the enlightenment to move through us and as us, ascending and descending, ascending and descending. What an incredible gift to be able to participate in that. So I invite those of you, I know so you are such a generous community, and to look at that for yourself, for me, it's a never-ending journey. I'm continuing to look at it. So I love our Lighthouse community. From when we started our board immediately said, we have to tithe. So when all the contributions that are given to us, we take 10%, and we tithe it back out into the world. We tie it to spiritual communities, giving back to God, what is God's. So we give it to many CSLs. We try to, if there's CSLs who've been in a fire or a hurricane or whatever, there's challenges for communities, we'll tithe to them to support the spiritual communities there. And we also support nonprofits here in our Livermore community, like Tri-Valley Haven, Open Heart Kitchen, to support the flow and circulation within our own community. So we are participating in this cosmic flow, always. As we give, so shall we receive, and as we receive, so shall we give. And it's a joyful thing. Our board loves to figure out who are we going to tithe to this month. And we have conversations about it, but it feels good to pour out those blessings. We also try to, we have continued to support us knowing and healing this divide, because just so we know, I didn't grow up with that divide, and yet it still was in me and continues to be in me, so it's continual work to heal this separation from head to body, to supply. So we have classes, and so we have this great class coming up in January. Yeah, and it's on prosperity. And we have our, prosperity goddess, Cher, who's going to be teaching it, master teacher, Jerry, who just lives it. Jerry, who loves asking for money, and I always tell Jerry, she's just like my mom, except for Jerry knows the law of circulation. She knows that the divine is behind it. Cher lives it, moves it. I mean, these are two masters of abundance and prosperity. And they're going to be teaching a class starting in January. Please put it on your calendar, because abundance is enlightenment, and enlightenment is abundance. We are a lighthouse. We are here to know light at every chakra, at every level and dimension of our being. And New Thought is such a powerful vehicle to have any types of healings. If you feel lack in love, in intimacy, in connection with others, if you feel lack in the ability to make grace-filled decisions, if you feel lack in your imaginative essence, if you feel lack in your ability to express who you are, your authentic truth, to open up those chakras, not that they're going to do chakras, I'm doing chakras, but they will, whatever your place where you might feel separation, because all this is healing separation from the divine. So what they're doing is healing that separation. Because what is an enlightenment? Enlightenment is all separation dissolved into the nothingness from which it came. Enlightenment knows that there's nothing other than the divine. What is heaven? What is paradise? There's just the divine. There's just pure love and light. And you're not struggling anymore. The separation has been healed. Heaven, paradise, whatever that dimension is, it is free from separation. And that's what we're here to do, is know and to heal all separation within us. Abundance is enlightenment. Enlightenment is abundance. What an incredible gift that we get to walk this journey together as individuals and as a community. And with our world, with our planet. Because as we are doing the work ourselves, I was going to say this last thing, because I know so many of you have been part of this. Have you all been part of a thread of pay it forward? So someone pays something for you, and you go to thank them, and they go, oh, somebody did it for me. Can you do it for somebody? Have you been part of that anywhere? Walking into a store, someone paying for you. It's incredible. It's such a joy. You can feel the ripple. Well, that's what we're doing. We're creating this ripple of good, this ripple of infinite supply, that there's not just infinite supply for those of us at the Lighthouse. This infinite supply is for everybody, and that part of creating enlightenment on earth, and enlightenment on earth, is healing all of the separation for everybody, everywhere. It might seem impossible, but what else should we be doing? Because what we really know, right, is that there's nothing impossible in pure spirit. Let's pray. So we just begin with gratitude. Gratitude to recognizing that this always already enlightened consciousness already is fully orbed. It is fully in existence right here and right now. We breathe into that. We are not creating that enlightened consciousness. We don't have to make it happen. We don't have to strive for it out there. It is right here inside of our being in this very moment. This beautiful cosmic light, love, peace without end, beauty, harmony, good, all of these wonderful things that have no opposite in the infinite cosmic consciousness, where all separation is healed, where there is no more divisiveness or division. There's still uniqueness. There is still the individuality of I am that I am, and yet there is no separation ever. That is the truth of who and what we are right here and right now. Each and every one of us who can hear my voice, those who can't hear my voice, there are beings and presences and communities all over this planet, people in solitude in their rooms, out in nature. In all forms, there are people who are practicing and knowing in this very moment that there is only one power, one presence. There is only one love, one peace, one joy. It has many names, many forms, many ways of expressions, and behind all of them is this one life and this one power. What a joy it is to join in with all those who are consciously aware of that in this moment. There is a power in this collective web of light, of knowing that we know that all aspects of creation is light and of love and wholeness and peace and joy and freedom and creativity and beauty, and that all aspects of our inner cosmos are being healed even in this moment. All those places of separation, of not enoughness, of lack, of limitation are being healed even now, for there is no lack or limitation. There's infinite supply, infinite imagination, infinite creative will, infinite love, infinite creative expression. We are the infinite enlightened beings of this life. It is not for the special few, it is for everybody. Enlightenment is for everybody. It is here and now. It is all of us together knowing this truth in all of our different forms and communities and individuality. And collectively, we join in with those other individuals and communities on this planet who are knowing and feeling into this oneness, and we speak our word for those who are feeling those separation, including ourselves, our family, our loved ones, including those who we don't even know, who may be suffering in ways that we can't even begin to imagine. We turn our hearts and our love and our consciousness towards the people and the planet and the animals and the minerals who are suffering in separation. And we call forth to know our brother and sisterhood with all life, that this oneness includes all beings. Right here and right now, if there's places where there feels like there's not enough supply for food, for shelter, to take care of health issues, loneliness, we call forth this infinite love, this infinite abundance of love, this infinite abundance of health, this infinite abundance of supply, this enlightened consciousness that covers and includes all life. We call that an activated form right here and right now, that we have the power as a collective consciousness around this entire globe to be a place and vortex of healing for everyone and everything. We are here to say yes to the vision and the possibility that seems impossible, but in spirit all things are possible, to heal all separation everywhere in every atom and cell of all creation on this planet. Healing is happening now, and we just continue to say yes and be that vehicle in our own individual lives, for our own individual self, as well as the people with whom we come in contact, the world in which we are in contact with. We say yes to being that healing energy of oneness, of all separation dissolved, infinite abundance, infinite supply for all. We are that, and it is us, here, now, forever, and always. It has already been given. We are simply just saying yes. 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 In deep abiding gratitude, in humble graciousness of love, we just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. In this grace, in this love, in this infinite good, we just let this word be, and we say together, and so it is. Amen and amen.